How's it going, my truant people? DrSlaking, the Slacking Doctor, back with the final for the IBL D-League. And this week, your Bowland Bovines are taking on OPJellicent and his Toronto Leaf Storms. Now, before we get into this, hopefully I can put a timestamp on the screen now if you guys don't want to skip ahead the battle, because I've got some thank yous to do, I've got some shout outs to do, and I've got a team builder to do, which we haven't really had in the IBL this season. But since those finals, I thought I'd go hard with it. So hopefully the timestamp will be appearing right now for you guys to click. I think it'll be on that side of me, I think. I don't really know. Don't know. The graphics for this video, I kind of made them all myself because I just didn't have any graphics or anything. So if they're not perfect, I apologize, but I really tried. So basically this video, I'm going to be trying to go as in-depth and be as analytical as I feel I can be with this battle. It is the final. It is such a big battle. It's such a high-pressure situation. There's so much to reflect on and talk about here that I'm going to really try and go in as much detail as I can. Now, if you're someone who doesn't really enjoy the overly analytical side of competitive Pokemon, who just wants to see like the excitement of the battle, if you like, then 100% go and watch my man OPJellicent's side, because I know he live commed the game. I know he's a fantastic commentator anyway. So go check him out. His link will be down in the description. You can watch the battle live if you want to see kind of everything as it swings and falls and happens live. If you want to see, as I say, more kind of analytical stuff, then stay here and I'm going to give you that post-com and hopefully be able to talk through all the plays, misplays, and everything else, RNG and all that stuff. So with all that being said, let me begin on the thank yous. I have to give a huge thank you to everyone who runs and helps out in the IBL and the IBL D-League, because I've had a fantastic season. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm very grateful to have been included. Shout out to all of the coaches as well, because they've all been fantastic people and been so much fun to be a part of a league with. I have to give a massive shout out to my front office, everyone in it, for helping me draft, helping me mock, and helping me build this season. They've all been fantastic. And I have to give a shout out to everyone that has helped me gen and record as well, because we wouldn't have any content on the Wi-Fi side, at least, without them. So thank you to all of them. And in particular, this week, my opponent, OPJellicent, actually recorded the battle for me. Not only is he a great opponent, but just a great guy to go and then record the battle for me too after. So shout out to him. And I believe Diet Ty actually genned my team this week, which he hasn't been genning for the IBL previously. He's been genning for his AAPA, but he hooked me up this week for the IBL as well. So shout out to him. Okay, that's all the thank yous out of the way. I feel like this is like an acceptance speech or something, you know what I mean? Like doing all these thank yous. But I want to thank my mum. She made me this way. But let's get into this properly. So the team builder. Basically, I had kind of like an idea with this team, the team that I wanted to bring when I first started building. I wanted to run HO, and I wanted to play aggressive. If you don't know what HO means, I'm going to try and explain everything as though you guys have no prior experience, because I really want to make this an accessible and analytical video for as many people as possible. So if you don't know what HO means hyper offense. What that means is that you're going to be playing very aggro, very aggressive. You're going to be making predictions. You're going to be trying to basically just overwhelm your opponent quickly. And so this battle is a very quick battle because of that. But the whole team was built with that in mind. Now, usually when I build a team, I might think, how do I check this threat on my opponent's draft? How do I check this threat on my opponent's draft? How do I break this defensive wall on my opponent's draft? Rather than sort of starting from that, where you come out with like a kind of balanced team, this team, I was like, right, what sets just go in? Like, what sets just completely rip my opponent apart? Okay, this one does, this one does, this one does. How do I make it so that they do even more? Well, I'll bring this and this to support them, and that's it. That's all we're doing this week. We're not worried about, like, how do we not lose to this or that. We're just worried about how do we just go in and try and rip my opponent apart. So, with that being said, we need to go through my opponent's draft, I think, so you guys can kind of have an understanding of what my opponent can bring. So my opponent's draft is Mega Lopunny, Landorus Therian, Weavile, Reuniclus, Thunderous Eye, Empoleon, Goodra, Shaman, Diancie, Magmortar, and Miss Magus. All of those should be on the screen for you guys to see. So really very scary team. Like, I think that the two of us had the most busted drafts in the league. I honestly believe that that is the case. Thundy Eye is one of his Z users, and Magmortar is the other. So I actually think his Z users are a little bit odd, because he does have Lando 2, which is a phenomenal Z user. So having Thundy is also a phenomenal Z user, but it's not the one that I think most people would go for. I feel like most people go for Lando 2, so that's interesting. But regardless, definite Z threats and definite threats throughout his draft. So looking at that, they're the kind of things that we're just going to have to go through. His defensive walls are things like Empoleon, Landorus T can be defensive, Reuniclus definitely can be a bit of a wall, Diancie can be pretty fat. So these are the kind of things that I want to break for my win cons to win. And then there are things that I need to outspeed, like Weavile, Thundy Eye and stuff that are relatively frail, but if I can outspeed them, I can beat them too. So that's the kind of thinking when I'm building this very aggressive team, this very offensive team. So All of that being said, what 6 do I expect my opponent to bring? Well, I expect him to bring pretty much what he brought last time. He did win in the regular season, so I think maybe 1 or 2 mons could change, but for the most part, I think it'll be a very similar build. So he actually brought the Empoleon, the Mega Lopunny, the Goodra, the Lando T, the Reuniclus, and the Thundi last time. So those 6 should still appear on your screen while the rest have disappeared. These are the 6 that I'm kind of expecting him to bring. So in particular, I'm looking at the Goodra and the Empoleon as the ones I need to break, and the Reuniclus to some extent too, but I'm not sure that Reuniclus will come again because I feel like it didn't quite do enough last game. I feel like I misplayed around it a little bit and stuff, rather than it having a fantastic matchup. So, but certainly the other 5, the Goodra and the Empoleon in particular, I really want to try and break. And Lando T, if it's defensive again, which I'm not sure it will be, I feel like it could be Scarf, but if it's defensive again, I need to break that. So, all that being said, let's actually talk about what I built. So the first mon that we are bringing to the IBL D-League final is Infinite. Big bad Kyurem-Black is coming this time. I know he's very scared of this mon. Ben and I, now I really have to shout out Ben here because Ben usually helps me build, and this team was mostly actually my building, but he did go through a lot of it with me afterwards, and we argued a lot about this Kyurem-Black. He wanted Tapu Koko instead. And one thing I have to say here is that a lot of people would find mine and Ben's conversations very strange because we literally just like bickering, and it seems like we're not getting anywhere. But I cannot recommend it enough. If you guys are up-and-coming draft players, if you're trying to improve your game, find someone who you respect, who you think probably knows more than you, or at least as much as you, and just argue with them about stuff. Because sometimes when you're arguing and you're having to defend the set that you've built, you realize exactly what it is that set does and exactly why it's valuable. And that will come into play as we work through. And you then in the battle, you know, okay, can I sack this set right now? No, because I still need it for this or for that. And you kind of like, it thrashes out exactly why you have those sets. So Kyurem-Black here is a Scarf set with the Dragon Claw, Ice Beam, Fusion Bolt, Iron Head, as you can see. This is one of our 2 primary win cons, and what that means is that when we get into a position in the late game, mid to late game, where I think I can win, this is one of the things that I'm trying to position like that. So I'm trying to get enough chip on Goodra, I'm trying to get enough chip on Empoleon, I'm trying to get enough chip on Lando T, whereby I can lock into one of those 4 moves and just sweep through the rest of his team. So that's what we kind of say when we talk about, like I said, I'm trying to explain this. Some of you will know this already, but I'm trying to explain this for everyone. When we hear people talk about a win con, that's what they're saying. It's a win condition. Something that with the right positioning will just finish off the match, right? And Kyurem-Black against this team is definitely that. Any one of these moves we could potentially lock into. If Empoleon goes down early, then Dragon Claw looks amazing. If Lando T goes down early, then Fusion Bolt looks amazing. Ice Beam, because we are an adamant nature on this thing, a jolly nature on this thing, we have minus special attack. Basically, our Ice Beam won't be doing that much to most things, but it's just there in case we need to revenge a Lando. So that's why we have that. And then Iron Head is kind of good to catch the Diancie on a switch in, for example. But for the most part, like I say, we're looking at that Dragon Claw and that Fusion Bolt and trying to maybe take out one key piece on his team that would allow us to choice lock into that move to win the game. Next up, second one on the team, and this is like our primary breaker and my designated lead for this matchup. I don't care what he brings, I'm leading with this mon and I'm killing something turn 1. That's the plan. I did it in all of my mocks and it worked tremendously well. Basically, we're going to lead with Meta B, the Mega Pinsir. Double Edge X's at Earthquake Rock Slide, no priority, adamant nature. We're not even outspeeding the Shaman or nothing. Like we're not worried about this thing taking 10 hits or revenge killing something or whatever. This thing is just going to come in, click Double Edge, and watch things die. His only switch into Double Edge is Thundi I, which is not a switch into Double Edge, it takes like 50%. And his Empoleon underspeeds us, so doesn't take an Earthquake after a Double Edge. So the kind of thinking here is, right, you just can't switch into this. It's just impossible. If he leads with Lopunny, we can do things around things that outspeed us, but for the most part, Pinsir just comes in and takes a life, and that's the idea on this set here. With the Hyper Cutter ability before we Mega Evolve, even Lando T doesn't scare us because it can't intimidate us on the switch in, because our Mega Evolution will go after the switch, unless he like U-turns or something, but then he has to give us a mon. He can't bring in Lando T to intimidate us, so we're just in a really good spot with this mon. X is F, the Reuniclus, of course, and Rock Slide. If I want to try and predict the Thundi, coming in, I can just bop that thing with a Rock Slide straight away. So, as I say, this is the primary breaker, and as you've kind of heard there, his 2 switches to it are Thundi, which is a potential Scarfer, it's worth bearing in mind, so that's nice for Kyurem, because we do have to try and scout for Scarfers for Kyurem to win, especially if they outspeed it, I mean. And also his Empoleon, and Empoleon was one of those things that kind of stops us locking into Dragon Claw. So being able to bait in the Empoleon on the double edge and then Quake it really frees up that Dragon Claw endgame, especially if he doesn't bring the Diancie, which I'm not sure he will do, because Diancie isn't really the best Kyurem-Black check. It doesn't take an Iron Head especially well, and it's very slow, so I'm not overly expecting that to come. So that's the idea with the Pinsir. Try and bait in that Empoleon or the Thundy and break those. Next up, third one on the team, we have Slug returning. Gastrodon actually, I think, has been fantastic this season. I've really enjoyed using it. It's not an aggressive win con. You might be saying, hey, I thought this was a hyper-offensive team. Well, this is, again, another bait to help support our win cons, because what this thing can do is always switch in and on Thunder if he goes for Nasty Plot, or if he goes for Thunderbolt, we're fine. And then we have the Rindo Berry there to take the Grass Knot. So we'll be able to take the Grass Knot from that thing. We're actually running Sticky Hold rather than Storm Drain, which I don't think we'll be expecting, because it seems like Storm Drain is great for the Empoleon, but with the Sticky Hold, it means that even if he's a mixed Thundy that could click Knock Off on our switching, he can't get rid of our Rindo Berry, which is really, really clutch, because it means he can't then knock us out with a Knock Off into a Grass Knot. So that's really, really cool. This thing has the Earth Power, obviously, to hit things like the Empoleon, but particularly the Rock Tomb there is to hit that Thundy, so that even if he's like an Agility Thundy, we can slow him back down again. If he's a Nasty Plot Thundy, if we don't kill him, if he's got some bulk or he's Charty Berry or something like that, doesn't matter, because we will put him at -1 speed, and then even if he's Scarf Thundy, for example, then Kyurem will come in and outspeed him, then various other things can come in and outspeed him and kill him, Pinsir, whatever. So the Rock Tomb's a really, really cool tech there to not only get massive damage, but also slow him down. Clear Smog is on there basically so that Lando can't set up on us a potential Double Dance Lando, Rock Polish, Sword Stance. He then can't set up on us if we just keep spamming Clear Smog. So again, this is the kind of set that I'm talking about, where thrashing this out with Ben made me realize that if I have enough chip on Thundy, or Thundy's revealed to not be Scarfed, then I can let this thing go down at any point, right? Because I can still win the game with one of my win cons in Kyurem-Black. If Thundy is revealed to be Scarf or something else, then I might need to keep Gastrodon around. So this is what I'm saying, where when you kind of hammer out why do you have this set and what does it do, you start to learn how you can preserve it and when you don't need to preserve it. So Recover, of course, is just on there for longevity. Next up, the fourth one on the team is our secondary win con, and this is really ties in with Slug the Gastrodon. We have Red the Scizor. Now, Scizor is here with a choice band on it this week, and just like Kyurem, if the Thundy and the Empoleon especially are weakened, this thing goes in. Like, Bullet Punch will do like 40% to Thundy. So if rocks are up, like, we're just going to two-shot that thing. So rocks are really, really crucial here. The main check to this is the Empoleon. But with Superpower on this set, we can just blow back the Empoleon if we want to predict it switching in. And this thing can also, you know, it can take like a high jump kick from Lopunny because we have quite a lot of bulk on it. And just generally put in work against his team. Now, like I say, kind of supporting our win cons here with Pinsir and Gastrodon both pressing the Empoleon and then the Thundy. With Scizor and Kyurem-Black, I feel like we're going to break that Empoleon. And if we break that Empoleon, one or the other will be able to go in either with Dragon Claw or Bullet Punch, right? So that's the kind of thinking there. U-turn, of course, because if we do want to predict like the Thundy coming in or the Empoleon coming in and we don't have Rocks up or something, then we can just U-turn, get big damage off with a banded U-turn, frankly, and pivot into one of our breakers like Mega Pinsir. Next up, fifth mon on the draft, another kind of support, more defensive mon, I guess, is Hibiki the Uxie with the Rocky Helmet here. Basically, what we do is we just throw this thing out every time Lopunny hits the field. Every time we see Lopunny hit the field, we throw this thing out. Doesn't matter if he goes for return, doesn't matter if he goes for sub, doesn't matter if he goes for fake out, whatever it is, we're getting Rocky Helmet chip, and that's really, really nice because Lopunny does outspeed Scizor, and will chunk down our Kyurem-Black with a quick attack, which if rocks are up and he has like banded Ice Shard Weavile or something, that's going to be a bit of a problem. So being able to chip that thing down and put it in bullet punch range was really key in my mocks. And so Rocky Helmet is kind of clutch on this set. Psychic means that you can't sub up on us for free. Knockoff means we can get rid of various things, items such as scarves, resist berries, things like that that could otherwise be a problem. Stealth Rock, of course, helps us chip down his team, particularly that Thundy. And U-turn means that if we know, for example, with his Lopunny, he's not going to stay in and get more chip on him, we can just U-turn back out and keep the momentum going, which is really, really nice. This, of course, is a predominantly physically defensive set. And then the final mon is kind of another breaker. Bit of a weird breaker, because there's one mon that can just hard wall it, but it's a mon that's so fat that getting it chipped down anyway is really, really nice. And if he doesn't bring that mon, it just goes in. So the last one on our team is Oggy the Heatran. Now, in particular, the Goodra is a huge problem for this set. The Fire EMZ isn't going to do too much to Goodra, and Flash Cannon really isn't going to do too much if he's AV again like he was last time. But regardless, if he is AV, Toxic is going to do a lot. Toxic into Protect is going to do a lot. We still then have the Uxie we can pivot out into on Earthquakes if we want to. And if he doesn't bring the Goodra, Z Magma Storm is going to go in against this team. Like, he doesn't really have great switches. Magmortar, I guess, but Magmortar is not going to take it overly well, especially if rocks are up, and we can still Toxic Protect that thing and stall it down. And also the Empoleon, and again, this is all about breaking that Empoleon. This whole team is built to break the Empoleon, essentially, or break the Lando T, because they're the two things that either stop Scissor / Kyurem from winning, like I've said previously. So that's the kind of idea here, is to chip things down. We do have quite a lot of bulk on this thing as well. We are modest max special attack, but with quite a lot of bulk so that we can try and take like an Earthquake from Goodra from full and things like that. So we are pretty fat. On the whole, this team, like I say, is a relatively slow team, actually, but really, really powerful, with things like Uxie and Gastrodon being the kind of support mons with more bulk, and then Heatran and Pinsir being the breakers to try and get Scarf, Kyurem-Black, and Banded Scissor into a win-con kind of position. So, I hope you guys understood all of that. I hope all my explanations were kind of clear, and you've got the philosophy going into this. Like I said, we are going to be leading off with Mega Pinsir, we are going to be clicking Double Edge, and we are going to be watching something die, hopefully. That's the plan. So, without wasting any of your more of your time, guys, let's jump into the battle. So here we are in the battle, guys, and obviously my face has disappeared as part of this. I didn't make enough graphics to kind of include in this. I guess I could have included a little frame, but I thought I would rather focus on the battle, and you guys probably would too. So, looking at my opponent's team, we got a lot of it right, actually. He brings nearly the exact same 6, but he swaps out the Reuniclus for the Weavile. So this was a change that we really did expect. Like I said, I wasn't really expecting the Reuni to come again because I didn't think it warranted its place. So looking at his team, I'm thinking, you know, potential nasty plot Thundy for sure. Could be Scarf, but I find that less likely. Probably Z. Weavile, I think, is going to be Life Orb or Banned, but there is the high potential of it being Sash. Goodra looks like AV to me at team preview again, because he doesn't have a ton of special bulk on this team without the Reuniclus here, so I feel like either the Empoleon or the Goodra needs to be AV, but Empoleon looks like it's going to be potential Defog or Rocks again, so... Oh, not again, sorry, but this time. So, I do think the Empoleon is more likely to be like lefties or something. However, it is still in my mind that he's brought very close to the same team, which means that it could be nearly the same Empoleon set he brought last time. And last time, he brought an Agility Sweeper Empoleon. So, with that in mind, I am going to perhaps play slightly differently, knowing that if it's a Sweeper Empoleon, he's not going to let me bring it out on a switch, right? He's never going to switch into it. But that really frees up things like Pinsir, for example, because that means his only flying resist is going to be that Thundy. So, knowing that he might want to save the Empoleon on the back, sorry, I'm hitting my microphone now, knowing that if he wants to save the Empoleon on the back as a Sweeper set, we'll be able to find that out pretty early in theory. So, then, next up, he has a Lopunny, of course. This thing's fairly standard. I'm expecting maybe sub-power at punch at worst, but probably return high jump kick. Maybe copycat again, as that was a pretty fire bring last time, but I'm not quite sure. And potential fake out, of course. And then last up, we see the Lando, and I'm like, okay, this looks like a Scarfer on his team, right? This definitely looks like a potential Scarfer. I don't see the point of it being Rocky Helmet Fizz Def again, because I just don't feel like it did enough in the last battle, and I think he would probably feel the same way. So I'm really, really expecting Scarf Lando here. But equally, it could be Rocks Lando if he wants to free up the Empoleon, and that's worth bearing in mind too. So we're going to have to see how these things are played to kind of get a grip on what sets there have come in the end. So, like I said in the builder, we are leading off with Mega Pinsir no matter what he leads off with. We're leading off with Mega Pinsir. We're clicking Double Edge and we're giving no shits. We're killing something. We are adamant. We are so strong. Everything is dying. And that's all there is to it. So he actually leads off with the Lando here, as we do lead it off with the Mega Pinsir, of course. And here I have a tough choice. I said that I was going to Double Edge, of course, his Intimidate fires, but we have that Hypercutter, so Metaby, we're not getting intimidated down. We're absolutely fine with that. But here I have a tough choice, because Double Edge will OHKO this thing if he's offensive. But if he's offensive, then he's probably Scarf. And this puts me in a difficult position, or potentially Sash, of course, but that puts me in a difficult position because I'm like, if this is Scarf and he's Stone Edges, that's a really bad time. Now, in all of my mocks, I Double Edged regardless, because I know that my man OPJellicent is a good enough player to expect me to switch right here. I know that he is going to expect me to scout, because he knows that I'm a decent player too, I hope. I'd like to think, considering this is finals. He's going to expect me to scout for the Stone Edge. So in all of my mocks, I just double-edged regardless, right? That's the play. If he's not Scarf, we're killing this thing. If he's Sash, then we're bringing him down to his Sash, and he either has to choose between rocks if he's Sash lead or Stone Edging me. However, in the game, I think the pressure of the final got to me, and I was like, do you know what? I can't risk Metabe right now. I can't double-edge here. I have to go into Heatran to scout, because he's never Earthquaking here. That's the crucial thing. He's never Earthquaking here. He might just U-turn if he's Scarf, and Oggy will take that with ease. So he actually goes for the rocks, and I'm like, damn, this thing's Sash lead. I'm almost certain this thing is Sash lead. This is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. So I'm going to pivot back into Yuxi, and that's fine. Like, this is okay. I can play around this, but I should have just double-edged because I would have basically just 2-hit KO'd this thing and claimed a huge problem for our Kyurem because he doesn't bring much that can really switch into a Fusion Bolt. This is the thing that can take the Fusion Bolt outside of Gudra, which isn't a logical Kyurem switch in off the bat. So this really, really sucks. We do get the Earthquake prediction right, getting Yuxi in. It was a fairly safe prediction being in with our Heatran before. But he actually reveals the knockoff as we go for rocks. And again, this is just terrible. Here, I just thought he would U-turn out, and by getting my rocks up in return for his rocks, I would at least break his Sash later on. I don't need my health on my Mega Pinsir. All I have to do is get it in against something that is faster than. It doesn't matter that we're taking rocks chip, but the fact that he has knockoff on this set absolutely sucks. I'm like, oh man, there goes my Rocky Helmet. So really, we're making misplays right now. We're just making misplays left, right, and center. He has had the much better of this early game. And that sucks. So predicting him here to either U-turn or knock again to knock out my Yuxi. There's no way he can Stone Edge and risk missing or whatever, or he can Earthquake into a Yuxi. I'm just going to go out into Metabe because I'm like, okay, this will take the knockoff, this will take the U-turn, and then we're in, boys. We are in. And he actually just goes raw for the explosion, and we're not in, boys. We are very much not in. Great play by my opponent. I can understand why he just wanted the Yuxi gone. But we've done bad. We've done real bad here. We've lost our main breaker when we could have actually just taken out his Lando. But the good news is he has lost his Lando, so he has lost his primary Fusion Bolt switching, which makes Fusion Bolt in the end game look phenomenal. So all is not lost. We've not lost hope. We can still play this game, and he's also lost his Intimidator as well. And with our 2 win cons being physical, that's not the end of the world. Here we're just going to fire off the Toxic. I do believe we've got a good chance to take this Quake, because like I said, we are a pretty fat Heatran. So we're hoping to take this Quake if he has it, and he may well over-predict not wanting to let the Yuxi in for free, but he doesn't, and he just fires off the Quake and brings us down, and we live on 2. Now, I don't know if this was a roll or if he just got a high roll and we scraped by on 2. Like I said, we do have quite a bit of fat on this thing, but I don't know his investment or anything to really comment on it. But here we're just going to go for the Protect. It's extra chip on the Gudra. I don't see any reason for him to switch out here, and he can just freely click Dragon Pulse to prevent me switching into Yuxi, of course. So we may as well get this extra chip, and here I'm just going to fire off the Z move, because this is still one of the main Fusion Bolt switchings, or his only remaining Fusion Bolt switching, frankly. It's neutral, at least to the rest of his team. This is the only thing that resists Fusion Bolt left. So with that in mind, we can just fire off the Z here, really put him as low as we possibly can with the Toxic chip, and that will open up that late game from Kyurem. The fact that we haven't seen his Empoleon yet really doesn't give me any information on it. Maybe because he didn't go into it turn 1 on Pinsir, we can kind of infer that it's offensive, but that would be a stretch, to be honest. We do actually crit the Inferno Overdrive, and that does turn out to be pretty important, because basically what that means is that with this Toxic chip, he can no longer switch into rocks, which means he could preserve this thing as a sack in the back. He could, but it isn't the best. And it may have been that if it wasn't dead to rocks, he might have tried to keep it around. I don't know exactly, because it was Toxic. It was going to come out pretty low. But nevertheless, I do apologize for the crit, because it definitely just encourages him to stay in here. And what it means is that I can choice lock into Fusion Bot with Kyurem here. Now, one of the key things that I need to remember is that he has that Weavile in the back. But we have got rocks up. So I want to try and keep rocks up. That's why I didn't look into Dragon Claw here. Yes, Dragon Claw hits most of his team harder, but if I let the Empoleon in for free, the Empoleon can then defog on me. And with that Weavile in the back potentially being Sash, I definitely want to keep my rocks up. And also with the Thundy in the back, I definitely want to keep my rocks up. So going for the Fusion Bolt, rather than baiting it in any of those two, baits in the Lopunny, which I can deal with a little bit easier. So that's my kind of thinking there. I also have to make sure that my Kyurem-Black can take a banded Ice Shard from Weavile, which it can do after 2 rock switch-ins, which is really, really nice. So here he actually goes out into the Lopunny, which is exactly what we thought would come in, because we can't kill this thing even if we are Scarf, which we are, but from his perspective, that's why it's just the right play to make. We're going to pivot into Beaky, and it would be so nice to get Rocky Helmet chip off right now, but we're Scrubs that played the early game badly, so we're not going to get that Rocky Helmet chip. Instead, he's going to be able to just Mega Evolve. I believe he clicks Return because it's a no drawback play. He probably knows that I'm not going to just give him my Kyurem, and if I do just give him my Kyurem, I won't be able to switch back in on rocks after this return damage, so he's in a pretty good spot to just click Return there. Unless we had like crit with Fusion Bolt or something, he would have been absolutely fine. Here we go into Scissor. Why do we go into Scissor? Yes, I could have gone into Kyurem and clicked Dragon Claw. Same endgame situation where basically that brings in Empoleon. Empoleon then gets to defog if it wants to. Or even worse, it means that we don't get to bring Kyurem-Black in on rocks and take a banded Weavile's Ice Shard. So because I can't bring in Kyurem now until the end game, I have to go into Scissor. But this thing is EV to take a high jump kick. So we are going to eat up this high jump kick and fire off a superpower. Why didn't I double bullet punch? There was really no point. I don't want to choice ban myself into something that lets Empoleon in again for free. Had he tried to pivot out into Empoleon there, we would have just blown that thing away. And that seemed more important to me at this point in the game. So we do drop the Lopunny on its head, it goes down, and now I'm feeling pretty good because I'm looking at the rest of his team, and I'm like, okay, I know his potential Wakan Berry Empoleon because that's what it was last time, but other than that, unless he's got a Scarfer, Kyurem-Black pretty much wins this game with Dragon Claw from this point, if I can get chip on the Empoleon, and if I can't get chip on the Empoleon, we can probably win with Fusion Bolt 2 after Rock's chip on something. So we're going to pivot out into Gastrodon on the Thundy here. He could have gone for the Grass Knot there and the Reed, so you could argue that I would have been better just letting Scissor go down, but because we were banded into Superpower, had I stayed in and clicked Superpower again while he nasty plotted, we wouldn't have done that much damage to him, and we don't have any other priority on our team, so we would have been in a bit of a pickle. Not the end of the world, because like I said, Kyurem could have come back in and choice locked into something to revenge kill it, but then had we been forced out by the Empoleon, we wouldn't have been able to choice lock into anything later because we wouldn't be able to take the banded Weavile's Ice Shard. Do you see what I'm saying? I can only bring in Kyurem now when I think I've won the game, and at this point I don't, so I can't just let Scissor stay in the superpower. I have to go hard into Gastrodon. Now I understand why he Thunderbolted, because from his perspective he doesn't know my sets and stuff, so it looks like I'm probably just going to sack my Scissor. My Scissor is dead to rocks, so why wouldn't I? But we know why. It's because I've got to try and position my Kyurem as carefully as possible at this point. Kyurem is the win con now, so he goes for the U-turn here, and there's no reason for me not to click Rock Tomb. If he goes into the Weavile, we're gonna pretty much kill that thing, which would be incredible. He wouldn't be able to switch in on rocks afterwards. We would take one hit and be able to Rock Tomb it again, and then Fusion Bolt would probably clean up this game. So he actually goes into the Empoleon, but this isn't the end of the world because we can Earth Power again. If he defogs at this stage in the game, it doesn't look terrible because we've already got chip on Thundy, and we'll be getting more chip on this, and it'll actually free up our Scissor in the late game with Bullet Punch. So we've got to bear that in mind too. If he defogs, it's good for me as well with my Scissor. But actually, he just goes for the Grass Knot and brings us really low, but we are able to Earth Power and bring him really low. So that's what I'm saying. Now Scissor would look good even if he had defogged because of how low this Empoleon would be. He Grass Knots again, actually picking up the crit to KO the Gastrodon. This doesn't really matter too much. I would have just Earth Powered again and KO'd the Empoleon, but it really wouldn't have changed too much other than how long I spent calking here, because here it looks like Dragon Claw should KO depending on his investment, and I've just got to go for it. And basically, if we KO this Empoleon, if we do get the roll, or if he doesn't have enough investment to take this, from the fact that he's Grass Knot again, I think he's the same set he was last time, which means that he's probably offensive and probably can't take this. But if he does take this, then we'd lost anyway. There was nothing I could do. Scissor's dead to rocks. That thing's useless. But if we kill this thing here, Dragon Claw is guaranteed to kill Thundy, because he did U-turn on the Gastrodon. That revealed to me that Thundy wasn't Scarf, which, in a sense, could have been a misplay on my opponent's side because it gave me information. But by this late stage of the game, there wasn't anything I could have done with that information any differently anyway, particularly. I guess I could have pivoted into Kyurem here on the Empoleon's Grass Knot a couple of turns earlier. Had he not proven that he was Scarf, or I could have sacked Scissor or something. But regardless, that information doesn't actually change the game too much, other than I now know that Thundy isn't Scarf. Weavile, even if it's Sash, is going to die to, is going to have its Stealth Rocks broken by, is going to have its Sash broken by Stealth Rocks, sorry. So I'm looking in a really good spot where I'm like, okay, Weavile guarantees to die to Dragon Claw from this range after it takes rock damage. Thundy isn't Scarf, guarantees to die to Dragon Claw from this range. I know that Banded Weavile can't kill with Ice Shard unless it crits, so I think we've won the game. If if he doesn't have enough bulk on this Empoleon to take this Dragon Claw. Obviously on Wi-Fi it's really hard to tell, but being in red means he's 20% or below, and the roll looks like it's going to do about 20% min. So we do actually pick up the KO, and I drop my DS on my desk, I get up from my chair, and I am jumping around my room. I am celebrating. The Weavile comes in. This doesn't matter, your sash is broken. If your bandage, your ice shard can't kill me without a crit. Unless he crits here, we have won this game. He's low kick. What? He outspeeds me. He's Scarf Weavile. God damn it. He's Scarf Weavile in the back. Didn't even cross my mind. Even after I saw the Lando wasn't Scarf, I maybe should have considered the fact that this Weavile could be Scarf for speed control, especially when the Thundy was revealed not to be Scarf after the U-turn. Now, as I say, it didn't matter too much because there wasn't much in that end game I could have done to counter Scarf Weavile. Once I got my Scissor that low, I was in a pretty tough spot regardless. So definitely with hindsight, I should have gone into Kyurem and Dragon Claw Lopunny, for example. As it turns out, he was offensive Empoleon, same set as last time, but there was no way I could have known that at that time. So really here, what I blame this performance on is, one, OPJellicent playing very, very well and bringing excellent speed control in the Scarf Weavile. It doesn't get much faster than the Scarf Weavile. He knew that he could counter any Scarfers I might bring with that thing, and he was correct. And two, my misplays early game. Had I stayed in with Pinsir, had I held my nerve like I was able to do so easily in my mocks, we probably would have had a better chance to win this game. Not a guaranteed chance, of course, but a better chance. Losing my Pinsir early was really, really tough. So, and I say this not to take anything away from my opponent's performance, by the way. I say this only to reflect on my own performance and what I would like to do differently next time. And the answer to that is not let the occasion get the better of me. I definitely made some nervous plays early game, some overly safe plays early game. And when you build a team with a certain target, i.e. this team was built to be hyper offensive, you have to play hyper offensive. If you build stall, you don't play aggressive, right? You play stall. I built HO and I didn't play HO because my nerves got the better of me. So there's definitely lessons to be learned from this in terms of the individual play-by-play basis, but also the overall kind of building and playing relationship. Hopefully you guys got something out of this battle. I certainly did, but GG to my man OPJellicent, a deserving winner. He went undefeated until the very final week of the regular season. He beat me in the regular season, and it's worth noting that obviously we got a bye in the first round of playoffs and then a forfeit win in the second round of playoffs, so I did get to the final without playing a single playoff game. That being said, I have every faith that I would have won my semi-final game regardless, but there we go. But I do think that of the two of us, OPJellicent is by far and away the more deserving winner, and congratulations to him. Now, all that being said, guys, I want to thank you guys for your support this season. You guys have been absolutely incredible. This is only the second final we've ever had on the channel. This is our first Wi-Fi upload required league, my first full season in any Wi-Fi league. So to reach the final, I feel was an incredible accomplishment, and I've definitely been encouraged by all the support you guys have shown. So thank you so much for that. Hopefully we will be back with the regular IBL main league season soon. I don't know yet. I want to get that invite. I'm crossing my fingers. I feel like maybe we did enough, right? It depends how many people they're going to promote, but we managed to reach finals. We uploaded everything on time, and for the most part, we got on with everybody in the community. So I'm fingers crossed that we will make it there. Who knows? Who knows? Regardless, Wi-Fi content is still going to be around on the channel with the APA Academy, which is currently going on. If you guys have just been following the IBL and you haven't followed that, go and check that out. It's been a ton of fun as well. But yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on here, guys. One last thing I want to say, like I've said previously, GG to my man OPJellicent. None of my reflections on my misplays were meant to discredit him in any way. He played a phenomenal game and is a deserving champion. Congratulations to him. Thank you so much for loafing around with me, guys, and I'll catch you again next time.